You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholic, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a trunk, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, buy some bottles, impress them girls. It's more than life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And we got some main course for you here, and what we're going to be covering this evening is the Saints, New Orleans Saints, 24-17 victory over the Chicago Bears, and that happened on Sunday at noon in New Orleans, the Superdome. So. Yeah, I mean it's some pretty tasty main course here. The Saints get another win on a two game winning streak now. So it doesn't get much better than this. A 2-game winning streak. Everyone in the NFC South loses, and you stand alone in first place in the NFC South. Albeit it's just 5-4. But you're not going to catch me complaining for being in first place and just winning games, because in the end, that's all that matters is as long as you win. There's no style points in the NFL. You know, there may be style points in those games for the media people and the power ranking type of people, but in the end, a win's a win, and that's all that matters. I would be perfectly fine with going to the Super Bowl and winning 2-0. It wouldn't bother me. A ring is a ring. So let's get into this game, because there's a lot that happened, not just in the game itself, but some historical things as well. But I'll probably have to save that till the end when I get into player of the game, hot take, and game picks here, which I didn't do great on any of those, but I may try to figure out somewhere to find me a half a point there. But let's get into like some key moments in this game, some highlights and stuff that really made me think. What while I watched this game, you know, that had me thinking about how this game was going to turn out, and what issues the Saints next we're going to have to deal with. But anyways, let's get into these highlights and these moments. So can I get a menu? And so it's 11:29 of the first quarter. It's a 1st and 10, and the Bears have just pretty much just marched down the field on the Saints here. They've just with Badgett taking off on 3rd down, and the Saints not having good containment on the edges or in the middle of their defense, allowing him to pick up huge gains, because throughout the day he was picking up big first downs, and he was like the one of their main rusher in this game, because he had like 8 rushes for 70 yards, which is an 8.8 average, and had a 20-yard long. And then they ran the ball good just all around, because D'Onta Foreman also had 20 carries for 83 yards, which is a 4.2 yard per carry. Both of them had some long runs. Foreman had one for 22, and Tyson Badgett had one for 20. But anyways, they pretty much marched down the field, hitting like wide open receivers that are like out on the edges with like no one around them when they catch the ball, or Tyson Badgett has been able to just run right up the middle, because the defensive line tackles aren't having good containment in the middle of the line. So they pretty much marched down the field, and it's a 11:29 mark of the first quarter. It's 1st and 10, and Tyson Badgett completes a 19-yard touchdown pass to Cole Kmet. A really crazy play. It was a really great play not just by Tyson Badgett for throwing it, but the catch that Cole Kmet made on the play. Can't really be too mad. You want to get upset about touchdowns and stuff, but there's not a lot more you could do on this play with the catch and the pass and the catch where it was targeted. Honey Badger was all over him. He had his hands up right there to intercept it. Like if Cole Kmet wouldn't have been there, Tyrann Mathieu probably would have got the interception on that play. But it was just a perfect pass and a great catch by Cole Kmet. So the Saints are down 7-0 early on, but I mean, there's nothing you could really do on that play. All right, so then the Saints get the ball back, or real interested about seeing if they can do anything themselves. I mean, it feels like all year since after the first two games, the Saints have been always having to come back from an early deficit in a game, or try to come back. But so the Saints get it, maybe pick up like one first down, and then they kind of stall out, and it's the 9-minute and 40-second mark of the first. It's a 3rd and 5. Third and 5, third and manageable, third and short, and it's coming it's like a wheel route, like out of the backfield, like while in motion. Olave goes deep, and Derek Carr goes deep to him, and there's nothing there to try to pick up. They're trying to like pick up 15, 20 yards on a play where they only needed 5 yards, and that's just been something that they've been doing all year. That's just the makeup of the New Orleans Saints offense. They need to pick up 3 yards, so they're going to throw it 13 yards when it's just unnecessary. That's something the Saints have been kind of judged on in this season, is that like almost all their passes are like to the outside, and they don't like to throw anything short over the middle unless it's just some kind of like check down on a Texas route or something, Alvin Kamara. But that kind of stuff would just drive you insane, going deep on third down, third and manageable. Even though the Saints have closed out some games this year with big completions and deep passes to Rashid Shaheed, but if you're gonna go to a player like that on a play like that, I would probably prefer it be Rashid Shaheed than Chris Olave, because he's really showed that he's not a possession receiver. He's not a catch in traffic type of receiver. Like he's not that type of physical player. All right, so then the Saints just end up getting nothing because of that. And then it's the 8-minute and 50-second mark of the first quarter. It's 2nd and 10. And I was just talking about how on the first drive they were Badgett had been able to stand in the pocket for a long time, and then if he didn't find anything, if the hole opened up in the middle of the offensive line, he'd take off and scramble. That's what he did on this play. He took off for a big pickup, and then a couple plays later, I think the Bears got like a false start and backed them up to like 2nd and 15. So it's like the 6th minute of the first quarter, 2nd and 15, and Badgett passes over the middle and is intercepted by Paulson Adebo. So Paulson Adebo has just been pretty much a straight ball hawk like all year, like even at this point in the game. So that sets the Saints up with good field position. But even at this point in the game, that helped Paulson Adebo be the leader on the Saints defense in interceptions with 3 at that point in the game. So Tyson Badgett just came over late and threw something laid over the middle, and Paulson Adebo was able to just jump right out in front of it and pick it off. All right, so a couple plays later, it's a 5:48 mark of the first quarter. It's 1st and 10. Taysom Hill picks up 8 yards rushing. And the reason that is a big moment in the game is because that's when they really started like using Taysom Hill to run the ball in this game, because like anytime they tried to do anything, have any type of runs with like Alvin Kamara or Jamal Williams or Derek Carr, even Kendra Miller, they couldn't pick up like anything. Like all those other players like Alvin Kamara had 9 carries for 26 yards and 2.9 yards per carry with a long of 13. And then Jamal Williams had 3 carries for 6 yards, which is 2 point average, and a long of 3. But Taysom Hill is the only place only player that was really effective running the ball. All that out of the like Wildcat. And Taysom Hill, he had 11 carries for 52 yards with a 4.7 average and a long of 14. So like their only success running the ball was with Taysom Hill. So there was more to come after that play. He got that drive going with that 8-yard pickup there. So then it's a couple plays later, it's the 3-minute 29 second mark of the first quarter. It's 3rd and 7, and Carr passes to Olave for like exactly right at like a first down. So that's what it seemed like early on in the passing game. They were trying to get Chris Olave started, and even with doing that, he still had like a drop in the game. But they utilized him pretty well on this drive, so they were able to pick up first down with him on this drive. And then a couple plays later, it's the 49-second mark of the first quarter. It's 3rd and goal. So they were able to convert third downs and third down and goals in this game pretty well. Their percentage was pretty good. So Carr drops back to pass on 3rd down and completes a touchdown to Chris Olave. So that ends up making the game 7-7 at that point. So that ties it back up. And then on the first play of the Bears on the next drive, it's 44-second mark of the first. It's 1st and 10, and they throw like a little screen over to Darnell Mooney, and he picks up a big gain that should have been. There was like 3 Saints players like right in the area where he caught it and picked up a couple yards that should have been able to like either tackle him or push him out of bounds. I know Mario Davis was over there. I think Marshawn Lattimore was over there, and just none of them even touched him. It's like they expected him to run out of bounds on his own. So he didn't, and it looked like he was about to take off and pick up a huge gain or maybe even a touchdown. But then you have 300-pound fullback, 300-pound defensive tackle Colin Sanders chases him down from behind, saving the play from being any worse than it was. But that's kind of an awesome play by Colin Sanders, but it's almost sad that your 300-pound defensive tackle is having to chase down a number one, number 2 wide receiver from behind, so they don't score a 60-yard touchdown. So that's jump started that drive for the Bears big time. So then it's into the second quarter now. It's the 13-minute, 16-second mark of the second quarter. It's a 3rd and 12, and Tyson Bagent again. Here he is running. He's scrambling around there for a while, has like all day to throw, and then at the last second he takes off for exactly 12 yards and picks up a first down. And that stuff drives you mad. And that's something the Saints have been getting gashed by like all year. Like their run defense, like their typical, normal standard run defense, to stop a running back hasn't been awful this year, but they just get gashed for like 8 yards a pop when it comes to wide receiver or quarterbacks rushing on them, and the horrible containment on the edge and in the middle of the defensive line is just horrible sometimes. So that set them up with the 1st and goal. So it's the 12-minute and 58-second mark of the second quarter. It's 1st and goal, and Tyson Bagent leads a nice pass over the shoulders of Cole Kmet. So that he picking up the tight end, Cole Kmet picking up another touchdown. So that's his second touchdown of the day. He was arguably their best player on the day. He had 6 catches for 55 yards, 9.2 average, along with 18 and 2 touchdowns, and that was off of 8 targets. So Cole Kmet was really giving the Saints problems in this game, especially in the first half. So that made the game 14-7 Bears lead. And so the Saints get it back. It's a 10 minute 50-second mark of the second quarter. It's a 3rd and 8, and Carr hits Alvin Kamara over the middle for a first down. And then a play later, it's the 10-15 mark of the second quarter. 1st and 10, Taysom Hill rushes for 14 yards, so he picks up his biggest rush of the day. So the Saints were good. We're good at answering like the scores of the Bears in this game, but once they got the lead and felt like they were in somewhat of a safe position, they just couldn't put like any more points on the board. And I just wanted to highlight the 3rd and 8 where Carr hit Kamara for the first down. They were really good on 3rd down in this game, so that kept this drive going. And then it's a 8:07 mark of the second quarter. It's another 3rd down. It's a 3rd and 6, and Carr completes to Juwan Johnson for a first down, and that gets them down in the goal-to-goal situation. It's the 6 minute 8 second mark of the second quarter. It's another 3rd down here. It's another 3rd down, and Carr passes a touchdown, so they convert this 3rd down too for a touchdown pass to Taysom Hill, and that's a big deal that Taysom Hill was able to get that passing touchdown, that receiving touchdown, because that put him at 10 plus rushing yards, 10 plus receiving yards, and 10 plus passing yards in his career. And his totals there are he has 26 rushing touchdowns, 10 receiving touchdowns because he got his 10th one in this game, and 11 passing touchdowns, which he got another one of those in this game. And he is the first player to, like, in the modern era since like 1950 to have this kind of record, have those stats. And the last player to have those stats, like, wouldn't call that the modern era back in like the 50s and 60s, but Frank Gifford was like the only other player in recent memory to have 10 plus rushing touchdowns, 10 plus receiving touchdowns, and 11 passing touchdowns. So, man, a lot of people over the years, like they like to make fun of Taysom Hill for not being like your prototypical quarterback, or he's not your prototypical tight end, or he's not your prototypical running back. And people really love to hate on the contract that he had and how it was backloaded and looked like a ridiculously expensive contract for a joker player like Taysom Hill. But you look at these stats and you follow the numbers of how many touches in a game the Saints get per game with him. I think like they're 13-1 in games where he's had 7 touches or more, seven rushes or more. So I think the Saints have got their money's worth out of him. And the only sad thing about that is that he's not younger and more durable. It would be nice if he was only 25 years old and hadn't had an injury history. But man, he's still playing like this at 33 years old. I think it probably helped missing some of those not taking the same kind of punishment early in his career, because he played at BYU, and there was a couple of years where he didn't play because he was on a mission and all that business. But man, he's on pace with how he's playing right now to have one of his best seasons. But yeah, that was a big deal there. I think that's something that kind of gets overlooked for such a great stat. I'm pretty sure the NFL called them and asked if they could have the ball, or if they could have some part of his uniform to put in the Hall of Fame. So that tells you quite a bit about how big of a deal that was. All right. So it's later in the second quarter, Saints and Bears hadn't done a whole lot, so it's towards the end of the second quarter. It's the 32-second mark of the third of the second quarter. It's 3rd and 13, and the Saints have done a good job kind of backing the Bears up and making it to where they have to kick a longer field goal. They ended up having to kick Cairo Santos is attempting a 40-yard field goal here, and that would have put the Bears up 17 to 14 in this game. So again, they would have the Saints opponent in 4 weeks in a row would have scored 17 points in the first half. But luckily, this 40-yard field goal by Cairo Santos bangs right off of the left upright and out instead of going in. Yeah, the hit, the left upright and comes back out of it. It was either the left or the right. I know later on the same thing happened to Blake Grupe, which was frustrating. So the Saints just by the skin of their teeth, by the room of the goalpost, by the size of a goalpost, we're able to get out of the first half for the first time in like 3 weeks without giving up 17 points in the first half. So they end up going to halftime tied 14 to 14. So the Saints end up not doing that. This was another game where I think this is becoming a trend now, where the teams that a trend, more not like a trend now, but a trend again, where the teams that win the coin toss are deciding to take the ball first, which seems to be happening on almost every other game I'm watching now. So Saints didn't do anything with the set, so it's the Bears were obviously right to take the ball first and go down the field and score on their first possession, and then the Saints get the ball in the second half and don't do anything with it, go like 3 and out. So they picked the right decision to take the ball first. So now the Bears have the ball again. It's a 13-16 mark of the third quarter. Yeah, it's the 13:07 mark of the third quarter. It's a 2nd and 4. Badgett passes over the middle and picks up a pretty good gain to DJ Moore. And as DJ Moore is like fighting and trying to pick up more yardage, Paulson Adebo hits him with the peanut Tillman punch, the peanut punch, and knocks the football out for the fumble and recovers it. So that's just a great play by Paulson Adebo, not only to force the fumble, but to recover his own fumble that he forced as well. So that's a big play there to keep the Bears from being able to get anything and setting up the Saints offense with good field position all pretty much the entire second half. They were there. I think there was 5 drives where Saints drives started in Bears territory, and the fact that they only won this game by a touchdown is crazy, honestly. So then the Saints get the ball with good field position there, aren't able to move it very much, but got just in range for a field goal. So it's 11 minute and 48 second mark of the third quarter. It's 4th and 8, and Blake Grupe hits his season-long 55-yard field goal. So the Saints finally are able to take the lead in this game, 17 to 14, off of a long Blake Grupe field goal. He was clutch on that play, and then the Bears go on a drive. They move down the field a decent bit, getting like in field goal range. It's the 3:35 mark of the third quarter. It's a 3rd and 7, and Tyson Badgett throws one deep into the back of the end zone, and Paulson Adebo is there again to make another play. He doesn't get the interception or the fumble this time, but he gets a big pass breakup. I think that he was throwing to DJ Moore on that play as well. Paulson Adebo was able to come in there and keep the points off the board and make them settle for a field goal. And it was the 3-minute 30-second mark of the third quarter. It's the 4th and 7 after the big breakup by Paulson Adebo, and Cairo Santos hits the field goal, making it 17-17. So it didn't take too long for the Saints didn't hold the lead for long before the Bears finally tied it back up and were close to taking the lead there if it wouldn't have been for the great play by Paulson Adebo. And then so it's on to the fourth quarter. It's the 12:05 mark of the fourth quarter. It's 1st and 10, and the Saints are doing a good job moving down the field, really spreading around the football, mixing in some Taysom Hill runs here. And then it's 1st and 10 here. The Saints are in Bears territory, and Kamara is able to pick up his biggest run of the day, a 13-yard run on this play for the Saints, and that gets them in the goal-to-go situation. And then just a play later, it's a 11-minute, 11-second mark of the fourth quarter. It's a 1st and 10, and Taysom Hill adds to his total of passing touchdowns here. Goes from 10 to 11 and completes a touchdown pass to Juwan Johnson. And on this play, we talked about Colin Sanders earlier in this video about how he made a big play on defense where he chased down Darnell Mooney and kept him from picking up a bigger gain or possibly even a touchdown. Well, he shows up on this play as well, because this was the play that they'd been running where they'd run Colin Saunders as like the power blocker, the lead blocker for Taysom Hill. But on this play, he actually ran out and ran a route. And man, he had a lot. There was a lot of Bears paying attention to him. They were giving him a lot of attention on this play. There were like 3 Bears defenders going over to cover the 300-pound Colin Sanders on this play, and that's what led Juwan Johnson wide open for the touchdown in the back left side of the end zone for like an easy touchdown. And from what I've read and what I understand, that play was designed to get Colin Saunders a touchdown, but it still got him a score regardless. It helped him get an easy score. So and that put the Saints up 24 to 17. So then the Jets get the ball back. This is their next drive. It's 11-minute and 2-second mark of the fourth quarter. It's 2nd and 10, and Marcus May jumps a pass over the middle and gets an interception. So that's like one of the biggest plays he's made since like week 1, week 2, since really since he's come back from his suspension, his DUI suspension. That's the biggest play Marcus May made all year since he's been back. So that was a big play to continue to give Saints good field position, like constantly in the second half. They were in Bears territory. So then the Saints, they're not able to do a whole lot with this great field position. It's the 8-minute and 22-second mark of the fourth quarter. It's a 3rd and 8, and Carr passes just short to Chris Olave of not picking up the first down. And this is something that I've seen from Chris Olave, how he just kind of like falls. He goes dead legged and falls down like right at the markers or where he thinks the marker is. Like you never really see him like pushing or bullying himself trying to pick up tough yards or anything. He just kind of like falls down at the first down marker. That was similar to his touchdown earlier, where he just kind of fell down on the goal line, which that honestly was kind of similar to the not touchdown that the Dallas Cowboys tight end had on I guess that was Sunday, the game of the week against the Eagles. But I thought on this play he picked up the first down. I thought this was a bad spot anyways, but of course Saints aren't able to get out of their way or put the nail in the coffin of the Bears here, even though they were in range to kick a field goal, which could have made the game 27 to 17, so that would have made it a 10-point game, a 2-possession game. But instead, at 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 the 7:53 mark of the fourth quarter, it's the 4th and 1 or 4th in inches. It should have been inches, not even a yard. Really, they quick snap it with Derek Carr, and they don't get it. They don't get the first down, and you got people screaming why they don't do the tush push with Taysom Hill, or just run the quarterback sneak with Taysom Hill. But there's probably good reason for that. If you watch a lot of Taysom Hill, or just seeing what he does over his career and how they've been using him this year, when they use him for run plays or occasional pass plays. He's always in the shotgun. He's always in the gun or in the pistol formation. He's never he doesn't really take very many snaps under center. So I'm sure when they do a quarterback sneak or something like that with Derek Carr, it crosses their mind that Taysom Hill doesn't take a lot of snaps under center, and that they're kind of concerned of whether he may fumble one or not. So I get that. So they don't get it, but they don't get the first down. But it doesn't matter, because the Saints defense were ball hawks all game, and Paulson Adebo had a career day in this game. So it's the 5:14 mark of the fourth quarter. It's a 3rd and 9, and Badgett throws another interception to Paulson Adebo. So now Paulson Adebo has 2 interceptions on the day, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery, all in one game. Like that's like during like the modern era of defensive back, to have a stat line like that. There's only one other player that's had a stat like that, and that's Charles Woodson. I mean, Charles Woodson did it. That's a pretty good company to be with right there in Paulson Adebo. And I love seeing Paulson Adebo balling out and being like showing some of the potential that he showed like his rookie year, because he had a sophomore slump, and man, a lot of people out there wanting to replace him with Alontae Taylor, and I was never one of those people. I always thought that Paulson Adebo's rookie season was more impressive than Alontae Taylor's rookie season. And then, coming into his second season, everyone thought that during like training camp that Paulson Adebo was like one of the stars of training camp in the 2022 training camp and season. But then he hurt his hamstring, and he was just never the same in that game. You can see him. He's missed 2 games this season, but whatever he's dealt with over the last couple of years, you can tell he's healthy now, because it helps. It's nice having 2 shutdown corners like Marshawn Lattimore, but I would say Paulson Adebo is more of a ball hawk. He makes more big plays than Marshawn Lattimore does, and you could argue maybe that's because quarterbacks and offenses try to stay away from Marshawn Lattimore, but with the ball hawking and the turnovers that Paulson Adebo's got, he's got 4 interceptions now and 2 forced fumbles and 2 fumble recoveries this year. Like he's balling, man. You love to see that from your corners, especially when you already are like praising one as like a shutdown corner, best corner in the league, in Marshawn Lattimore. To have 2 guys like that, that's something special. Can't ask for more than that. So then the Bears are just kind of in desperation. They do a decent job. They're not able to do anything because they had the turnover there, and the Saints are just, after not getting that first down on 4th down and in Bears territory earlier, they just want to try to make this a 10-point game, a 2-score lead, but they're not able to move the ball very much after getting the interception by Paulson Adebo. So it's the 2-minute and 30-second mark of the fourth quarter. It's 4th and 3, and Blake Grupe misses a 48-yard field goal this time. And I think the one that the Bears, Cairo Santos, is hit the right upright, and then this has been something that's been said about Blake Grupe quite a bit, is that he seems to have a hard time with just accuracy in general, but anytime he's kicking anything over 40 yards from the far left hash, he has a hard time with accuracy with kicks like that. Because the 55-yarder, it was more of a kick right down the middle. But then you go back to like the 46-yarder against Green Bay he missed, and then the 48-yarder against the Bears. In this game, he missed it all from the far left hash. So that's something to take into account. So the Saints aren't able to put the game away with making it a 2-score lead. So the game stays tied at 24-17. But don't have to worry about that because Demario Davis is going to call game. So it's 2 minutes and 16 seconds of the fourth quarter. It's a 2nd and 20, and Badgett is strip sacked by Demario Davis, and that pretty much seals the game. One more big play here that they had to pick up one more first down to ice the game and be able to kneel it out. So it was a 1:13 mark of the fourth quarter. It's a 3rd and 2, and they put and here's Colin Saunders again. They have him in motion and like a full sprint when they snap the ball, and Taysom Hill is right behind him to pick up the 2 yards and the first down. So they used that play a couple times in the game, running behind Colin Saunders, and didn't pick up too much with it. And then obviously they did ran a different play out of that formation once getting the Juwan Johnson touchdown. But on this play, it was the classic, heavy lead blocker and Colin Saunders and Taysom Hill fall in the way to pick up the first down on that play. So, man, this was an exciting game to watch, but at the same time, it was a stressful game to watch because anytime your team gets like 5 turnovers but doesn't have any turnovers of their own besides turning it over on downs and missing a field goal, so the Bears they turned it over 5 times and missed a field goal. With those types of numbers going in your favor, this should be a blowout. The Saints should have won this game like 35 or 38-17, honestly. So that's really one of my only big complaints in this game was that it was a lot closer than it had to be. Like the Saints should have blown the Bears out, even without the 5 turnovers. The Saints should have blew them out regardless. But it was just kind of weird, they were able to move the ball a couple times in the first half, getting touchdowns and all that, but then in the second half they weren't able to move it very much, even though they were set up with great field position like on every drive. But let's get into player of the game picks, and hot take, all that. So my player of the game was Colin Saunders. I thought he was going to be a big part of this and getting them points. But they never had a play where it was like a lead block behind Colin Saunders and he picked up they picked up a touchdown. Any points, they did pick up the game-selling first down, and they had him run a route on a play where they passed a touchdown to Juwan Johnson, and then Colin Sanders also had a big chase down tackle on Darrell Mooney. So I mean, there's argument for Colin Saunders because he was very active in this game, offensively and defensively. So he was a big part of this game and this win. But it's kind of hard to say that he's your player of the game when you have a player like Paulson Adebo who has two interceptions. Let me go over all his tackles and everything as well here. So let's see. So Paulson Adebo had 5 solo tackles, 2 assists, 7 total, 2 interceptions, returned for 5 yards, 3 pass deflections, and forced fumble and a recovery. Like it doesn't get much better than that for a defensive player or a defensive back. So Paulson Adebo is easily your player of the week. Saints player of the game, and he should be NFC defensive player of the week. On top of that, I mean, it doesn't get much better than getting 3 takeaways in a game. So I just can't. I don't. I can't, in good conscience, say that Colin Sanders was the player of the game. But he had his moments. Definitely had his moments. He was definitely a big part of this win. Definitely a big part of this win. But I have to give that to Paulson Debo for player of the game. And then hot takes. This is a great and amazing hot take that I'm pretty happy didn't come true. I'd pick Montez Sweat to get 2 sacks or get a sack and a forced fumble. You didn't see anything. You didn't even hear his name hardly in this game. You didn't hear any of the names of any of the Bears defensive linemen or pass rushers at all in this game, because I think this must have been the first game all year where Saints quarterback didn't get sacked or didn't get beat up and knocked around in this game. Like his numbers were sad in this game. So he had 2 solo tackles and 2 total tackles altogether and a pass deflection, but he didn't even uh, breathe. He wasn't even able to breathe on Derek Carr in this game. So that's a great hot take. I'm perfectly fine with being wrong on. And then that was great. Seeing the Saints offensive line block so well, So they stuck with Andres Pete at left tackle. So after this game and the Colts game, it's easy to say that Andres Pete has been the best player at left tackle all year. And James Hurst, he came back, and thankfully he didn't. They did the right thing and stuck with Andres Pete at the left tackle. So they didn't try to move James Hurst back out to left tackle, the position where he got hurt, but they did let him take the spot over Max Garcia, which I'm okay with. And they put James Hurst at that left guard spot, and they looked as good as they have all year. You got to take it with a bit of a grain of salt, saying that it was the Chicago Bears, but still not allowing a sack in an entire game against another NFL defense against an NFL offense, and that's pretty impressive, honestly. And then my game picks and my score and game picks. So my score was almost dead on. This is be the only part where I may feel I can take some credit or some points. A field goal goes this way, or field goal goes this way or goes that way. This score would probably be about dead on. So I said 26-16. So it was right there, just a couple points, about three points one way or the other. I had it wrong. So that's pretty close. That's pretty close score prediction, even though they struggled and it really hurt them not being able to go up by 10. It made the game a lot more stressful and closer than it had to be. But I picked the Saints to win, so they're 2-0 with me picking them now, and I think that's pretty close to picking the right score there, 26-16 when it was 24-17. That's pretty close. That's a pretty good prediction. I'd give myself at least a half or maybe even a whole point for that. But can't in good conscience say Colin Sanders was the player of the game, and can't say that that Montez Sweat was a factor at all. Thankfully, but anyways, I think that's about all I have for you. I'm ready for the next game coming up against the Minnesota Vikings. Should be interesting, seeing how everyone is all on the feel good story of Joshua Dobbs only having like less than a week to prepare for the game against the Falcons, and they had no idea that he was even going to play at all, and then he leads the game winning score against Falcons to win that game. Thank you, Josh Dobbs. But I think that your Cinderella story is probably going to come to an end playing against the Saints this Sunday, because I think people think as if look at if Josh Dobbs or think that he's like a rookie or something. He's not a rookie. He's been in the league for like 5 seasons, and he's like 28 years old, and he's been a journeyman backup quarterback like his whole career. Like, I'll give him credit. He put up a nice performance against the Vikings on short notice. But you also got to take into account that they weren't prepared for him as well. And he has a history of throwing interceptions and turning it over and getting sacked. I think with a full week to prepare for him, I think the Saints will be able to do just fine against this journeyman cornerback. Which I don't know. Let him have his swan song, his Cinderella story while he can, because I don't see Joshua Dobbs being a franchise quarterback. Definitely not taking Kirk Cousins' spot. But anyways, I'll see you later this week for injury report, and hopefully it's all clear. Seeing how there's been a couple of players pop up on there. I think Kendra Miller is back on the injury report again. So we'll just have to see how all that turns out as the week goes along. But anyways, I think that's all I have for you. So who dat? Can I get a check, please?